how are you feeling, first off? Because you've been hobbling around.
You've seen me in crutches on the building like the entire year.
What happened?
It's so boring.
Just tell me.
I sprained my ankle and broke my ankle at once.
What?
While doing nothing. My big adventure was I was stepping down. That was enough to break and sprain my ankle and put myself on crutches for 4 months. I'm only off crutches for a few days.
What a drag. So you're getting better. Were you getting used to the crutches?
Kind of. The cool thing about crutches, I will say, and I mean nothing against, but having big pieces of metal in my arms at all times going down the street in New York City, kind of an advantage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
swatting people away.
In New York, people are good about like giving each other physical space and not making eye contact, and like people are good about managing density of humans. But like having physically clearing myself more space and like I can wield this at you if I need to.
Yes.
Like it bought me some elbow room. It was nice. Now I feel vulnerable. I feel like I've been plucked. I don't have my sticks anymore. Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the big news. John Legend is people's sexiest man. No. Is that right? Let's talk about it.
Expect a 27-minute commercial-free monologue from me on today's big news.
Yeah, the impeachment hearing started today. What's the takeaway? What went down today, and what do we have to expect?
You know, we have so few experiences of impeachment as a country that there's no like normal impeachment. Nobody knows how it's supposed to go. So I think there's a lot of suspense just to see what it looked like and to see how it was going to proceed. I think the really good news is that it was kind of calm. Like, it could have been a crazy circus. People could have pulled anything. And instead, it kind of proceeded like a normal hearing. And these were witnesses who had a story to tell and who told it with incredible dignity and gravitas. And yes, some of the questioning was stupid, but almost all of it wasn't. And to me, that was like manna from heaven, because I've just been hoping for this issue to be resolved in a way that is rational, fact-based, calm, not about intimidation and name-calling, that just tells the American people what happened and lets people make their own decisions. And today was a really good start for that.
And what is exactly they're saying is impeachable?
So you can't solicit something from a foreign entity to benefit the next U.S. election. You can't go to any foreign entity and say, hey, give me some help in this next election. You can't ask, even whether or not you get it. You cannot solicit anything of value from a foreign entity for use in a U.S. election. And President Trump and his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, admit they did that. They went to Ukraine and they said, we want investigations of Joe Biden and we want investigations of the Democrats. And Giuliani just flat out admits, the reason I want that is because I think it would be of value to my client. Well, that sounds great on TV. Also, that's a crime. Oops, you can't. I mean, not unless Ukraine is, you're going to try to pretend is like a proper noun that applies to an American who you met somewhere. I mean, as long as we admit that Ukraine is a foreign country, you can't ask them for things that are going to help your client in the next election. They admit that.
It was a perfect phone call.
It was perfectly criminal. It was the perfect crime.
Yeah.
They admit it because they don't think it should be a criminal offense, but it is. And in impeachment, it doesn't necessarily have to be something for which you would go to jail if you were a civilian, although this is something for which you would go to jail if you were a civilian. In this case, it just has to be something that's inconsistent with the responsibilities of the president. High crimes and misdemeanors in the Constitution aren't laid out like the penal code. They aren't laid out in terms of specific statutes. But a president trying to get help from a foreign country against his political rivals here is not only wrong, it's not only criminal, it is definitely impeachable conduct, and they admit that. And so how are we going to proceed as a country toward deciding whether or not he gets impeached and removed from office? Well, we saw day one of that effort today, and they are calmly elucidating the facts. And I think it is actually going to be a useful thing for the country. I think this is going to be a sort of a, I don't think this is going to be a divisive thing. I think this is going to get people on the same page.
How long do you think this will go?
I don't know. I mean, we know now that there's going to be another hearing this Friday. The U.S. ambassador to Ukraine was recalled as part of this scheme that Trump and Giuliani were pulling off. She's going to testify on Friday, and then we've got 3 days of hearings next week, including a couple of days where there's going to be 2 hearings per day. So we know there's going to be a lot between now and the end of next week, and then I don't know, we got a new revelation about a new phone call that Trump was on today that we didn't know about before, and that resulted in them calling new witnesses who we'd never heard of before today. So it could stretch on for a while, but I don't think it'll go like deep into next year or something.
Do you think the whistleblower will be revealed, or?
If so, that will be a new low for our country. That would be really bad. The whistleblower came forward to say, I have reason to believe that X thing happened on this call when President Trump called Ukraine. I am concerned about it. I believe it should be looked into. Turns out what the whistleblower was worried about actually did happen on the call, and it was looked into. And it turns out it was even worse than the whistleblower said. So now it takes a really, I think, what's the nice way to say this?
Yeah.
It takes a small mind to look at that set of circumstances and be like, we better out that whistleblower. You know, the whistleblower was correct. The whistleblower was drawing attention to something that happened in the administration that did turn out to be a real problem. And if you're going to go try to vilify and punish and chase around and retaliate against that person, that's not only illegal, it's fundamentally unfair, and it's something that I think every American should sort of be horrified by. So I think the Democrat who's leading the hearings, Congressman Adam Schiff, today tried to draw a real hard line on that and say we are not going to entertain Republican efforts to try to out this whistleblower. We're not even going to get close there. And I hope he's able to still hold that line. I also hope the people who are messing around with this, trying to blame somebody for being the whistleblower, trying to out them, trying to target them, I hope they look at themselves in the mirror and come to realize how wrong that is and how un-American.
If everyone says, oh, okay, he should get impeached, then what happens?
Well, the House makes the first decision. They decide whether or not they are going to impeach him. And impeaching doesn't mean you get removed from office. It's kind of the equivalent in the criminal laws of you getting criminally charged. And then once you're criminally charged, once you're impeached in the House, then those charges, those articles of impeachment, go to the Senate, and the Senate puts the president on trial. Now, the Senate is run by Republicans, and so everybody assumes that means that the trial will last 5 minutes, then it'll end with him getting an award. But I mean, we'll see. I do feel like, you know, we learned something on day one of the impeachment hearings, and I think we're probably going to learn more as it goes forward. And the fact that the president has admitted to this criminal behavior, I think is going to make it hard for it to be a knee-jerk thing for Republican senators to just say, we don't care, and we're happy to be seen blowing this off. This is a really serious thing we're going through as a country, and it's being treated seriously, at least on day one. And if that sustains, I don't think any of us should have anything other than an open mind in terms of how our elected officials are going to deal with this, because this is serious stuff, and I think a lot of them will be called by their better angels.
On and on and on. I said, and it's on and on and on.